It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Since 2010, your weekly source for independent New York Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, from the Joe Goldstein studio, here's your host, Mark Fishkin.
It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. An undermanned Red Bulls went down to Atlanta to take on their high-powered attack, and no goals were scored. $30 million Atlanta spent to get the ball past Carlos Coronel, and it just didn't work. Tactical changes in the second half made this a defensive masterclass. Or was it an anemic attack? Nevertheless, we've got Mike Battista here to talk all about it this week. First of all, the liking, the subscribing. Please do both things. Subscribing is great. Tonight on Seeing Red, we'll look back at what many called a bit of a snooze fest, but at the end of the day, a point on the road is really a fine result. We'll give our Bull of the Week. Red Bull legends, names that you must know, will be playing in the U.S. Open Cup for Des Moines. It's true. We'll also preview Orlando City coming into Harrison this Saturday afternoon. We'll have a chat with Red Bull Radio's Matt Harmon and your thoughts as well. Mike Battista, how are you?
It is going to. It's been a very hectic week.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. The season's back. Open Cup is around the corner, so I can start talking about things no one cares about. But suddenly the Red Bulls fans care about it again.
All right. We're going to get into it. Let's talk about goose eggs at Mercedes-Benz. Carlos Coronel stood on his head in the first half, shut Atlanta down with some really top-notch saves, makes the Team of the Week bench. There are some fans that didn't understand that other goalkeepers also had good weeks this week. They were perplexed about why he made the bench and not the first team of the Team of the Week. So let's talk about, because we have a positive bent, let's talk about what worked for you on Saturday night in Atlanta.
Well, besides Coronel, it's funny because Coronel stood on his head, and he's really going for that 50th win right now.
Yeah.
And he got to 49 against Nashville, but he kind of close against Cincinnati, lost that one goal. This time around holds him to a clean sheet, and this is a revamped Atlanta squad. So to say things didn't go well isn't really fair to him. He did his job perfectly. And the second half subs did their job. You kind of said before, the offense was not doing enough to get chances against everyone's favorite bald-headed former U.S. men's national team goalkeeper.
Yeah. And I have been guilty on this show of not being on the Raheem Edwards train so far. He came in and he gave a fantastic performance in the second half, spelling Omar Valencia, who picked up another yellow card in the first. I thought he did a great job. Among the things that stood out for me, Atlanta did not attempt a shot after the 59th minute of this match. I mean, New York had not what I would call amazing chances to score, but in the second half, New York was very content to knock the ball around and really played a possession game that said, you're not going to score on us if you don't have the ball. Yes, we can be upset with Noah Ayla on the back post not being able to bury that. Is it fair, though? I mean, the guy's a center back. Are we expecting him to convert that opportunity?
No, it's not fair to him. It's not his job to score like that. We've already I'll also say this. The fact that what was the minute Atlanta United stopped taking shots? Did you have
59th was their last shot attempt of the game.
And they still had 3 more shots overall than the Red Bulls officially.
Right.
And I don't think New York registered a shot on target all game.
They did not.
So no offense, if New York realized 60 minutes in that, hey, we could just work towards a draw here. You know what? You are their injury list. What's the thing about everyone was saying the Detroit Lions this year that they could make a second team where everyone who's on their injury list.
Yes.
If the Red Bulls are getting to that point, because we're close to 10 people.
They can field an entire team, yes.
They could field Red Bulls too again. So honestly, for them to say, at 60th minute, we're kind of running here. We'll see what we can do. I totally understand the logic, and I don't think anyone should be upset at Noah Ellie for skying a ball.
No, not like that. I want to talk about a couple of different players in particular. Uh, I want to talk about Dennis Yengor because here's an opportunity where he gets a chance to start. It became evident to me in the second half, and maybe I'm reading a little too much into it. The team didn't go to him almost at all. He certainly gave away a few balls early. This was his opportunity to say, yeah, I can be a realistic option on the right side. And it was all, he brings speed to the game. We didn't see it a whole lot. And that was, for me, his shot to say, yes, I belong here.
It's more complicated than that because we have to realize who is he replacing on the right side? He's replacing Cameron Harper,
yeah,
who's been hot and cold at times, but even Cam Harper this season's been struggling with long ball crosses. So to put Gengar there and say, "Oh, do better than that," like it's tough because he's also not supposed to be playing on the wing. It's not as bad as Tom Edwards playing center back because you're tall, but it's in the same vein. I don't hold it fully against him because you're trying to fit a circle peg in a octagon hole. It's kind of there, but it's gonna be a little jarring. So I'm willing to give him another week or so to see what he can do with it.
Game. If your game is I'm faster than anyone on the field, show it. Go to the corner. You pull it back out if you have to, but try to take on the man. Try. And I thought he was kind of timid in the early stage of the game. Mind you, New York didn't have a lot of the ball and they were defending through most of the first half. But in the second half, for me, it's, hey, try, just try. And I think the team kind of got a little tired of going there. And from the 55th or the 60th minute on, I don't know if he touched the ball. And so, listen, the New York attack is missing Lewis Morgan and missing Cam Harper, two very important pieces. And so I understand why New York's attack perhaps wasn't as sharp as we'd like it to be.
They were also starting Julian Hall.
Agreed. And they tried. Again, let's try it. Try him out as his first MLS start. He's still 16. Absolutely incredible. I thought he was okay. He had an opportunity or two to break in, and I get how the moment might be a little bit big for a player like that. What did you think of Chupo in this match?
Better than I would say against Cincinnati, and I would say better than he was against Nashville, even because Nashville. The problem with Nashville was they were getting so pressed, but I was still seeing players like Omar, Emil, and Cameron actually just juking the ball around those defenders consistently.
Yeah.
Chupo, that game, he had the shot off the post that went to Soto. Sofo. But in this game, essentially, I would say it's a better look because you could see more of his power from him. You didn't see him you didn't see the shots from him. I think you saw the playmaking ability. You saw the ball movement a lot, especially after the 60th minute where the Red Bulls were content to just hold the ball. So this one, I was like, all right, I didn't see the offense from a striker, which, oh no, I've seen this game before. But overall, it's like, okay, you can move the ball around and you can play annoying ball, which is going to be good in this season.
All right. I like it. Thoughts on Forsberg on Saturday night?
Nah, I actually got nothing on Emil. Emil was fine to me. No real thoughts on him. It's more of the same, really. You?
I'm afraid that the team, and you're going to hear this when we talk to Matt Harmon, I'm afraid that the team defers to him perhaps more than, I don't want to say if it needs to, but it became evident that in the attacking part of the field, the game and the attack flowed through Emil, just like 10 years ago it flowed through Sasha. And New York isn't going to create a goal opportunity unless Emil is involved, but I don't know that he has to be involved every single time. And again, it speaks to the notion of not playing Yengor almost at all in the second half. Again, I didn't think it was a bad performance given the Red Bulls injury woes and given the fact that you're playing on the road in a place where, again, Atlanta had spent all this money to bring in Latte Lath and Almiron. They were shut down. New York has conceded 1 goal in 3 games. And that is a kind of defensive record that is going to be perfect when you are ready to make your playoff run. Of course, New York has to create a few more goal-scoring opportunities and score goals if they want to do better. But at this early in the season, with this many players injured, I didn't have an issue with it. And when the final whistle blew, I frankly just said mission accomplished. And I understand that, watching a team hold the ball and play defense and just play keep away and kind of probe and not get a shot on goal. I mean, in any other typical match, I would be undone with that. But given the current situation, I was totally fine with it.
This is how a team reached an MLS Cup. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is literally, we've seen this 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, this is the exact same thing. And we're just still like, I'm not sure if I like it. I'm like, wait a minute, how could I not like it? I literally just we were just in LA because of it. So I don't know.
All right. Scoreless draw. New York 1-1-1 on the season. They've scored 2 goals in 3 games. They've conceded 1 goal over 3 games. This is an easy shout for me, my friend. Your bull of the match?
Carlos Coronel.
Carlos Coronel is our bull of the match. Okay. This is Mike Battista's favorite time of the year. Starting next week, the 101st U.S. Open Cup kicks off. And to bring you all the news about what's happening with some very big names from Red Bull's past in the Open Cup, I concede the floor to Mr. Battista.
Thank you very much, Mark. So for the second year in a row, Sasha Kljestan will be joining USL League 2 side Des Moines Menace in the U.S. Open Cup. Last year, as it just happened to turn out, the Des Moines owner knew Sasha from just various things, mentioned the idea of playing, and because they were playing in LA at the time for their first round game, they said, "Hey, Sasha, do you want to come play?" So he goes, "Sure." And I think he brought Stu Holden's brother with him and someone else, a couple other guys, and they won their first round game. And it was all fun. This year, in terms of how Hollywood works, they've done it, but they've expanded the cast. Sasha has decided to just raid the MLS season pass studio. He's bringing Bradley Wright Phillips and he's bringing Dax McCarty. But wait, there's more.
Who else is playing?
It's not just your former New York Red Bull Shield winners. It's also Anzi Alonso, Matt Hedges, Justin Miram, and Benny Feilhaber. It is a bunch of people you can go, hey, there's a guy. And it is phenomenal because it is just Des Moines saying we can't use our college players because of NCAA rules. So we're just going to get whoever we can. And Sasha's just calling up his entire contact list.
This looks like a TST team. I mean, this looks like Mike McGee's Sneaky Fox team. Let's get the MLS alumni out here and see what we can do. Who are they playing in the first round of the Open Cup?
They are on the road against Sporting Kansas City 2.
Okay. All right.
And you're totally right. It is totally a TST sort of move. And it almost feels like in a serious competition, there are probably some people who go, this doesn't feel like it's supposed to, this doesn't feel serious. But in the same vein, no one was talking about Des Moines up until a couple days ago. And now everyone's going to be talking about Des Moines. I'm still be going to see FC Motown play against Westchester SC at Montclair State.
I will be there as well.
It's going to be a good one. And
it could be a good one.
There's plenty of local games for, other people to see, but in a time where the Open Cup is in a weird spot, something like this is a lot of fun. And to be perfectly honest, these guys are going to be talking about it on Season Pass for as long as the team's active. Right.
So we're talking about next week. So next Tuesday, let's see, at Lubetkin Field at NJIT in Newark, New Jersey Alliance is hosting Chattanooga Red Wolves. That's at 7:00. 7:30, both Mike and I will be at MSU Soccer Park for FC Motown of the NPSL taking on Westchester SC that played its first ever game. Westchester FC, who has Kamar Lawrence on the roster and Noah Powder, former Red Bulls Academy, on the roster. That's at 7:30. Let's see. Those are the two local games in the
There's
first round.
no, there's more. So
There.
there's also Long Island Rough Riders is going to be hosting Charlotte Independence of USL League One. That's Long Island Rough Riders of USL League Two, former national champions. I think they had 5 players drafted in last MLS Next Pro or MLS Super Draft. And you have 2 teams going to Ohio. You have the New York Renegades of the United Pure Soccer League, who went through local qualifying. They're from Hicksville, New York, home of Tim Parker.
Okay.
They are going to go play Columbus Crew 2. And then you have the New York Pan Cyprian Freedoms.
Oh, yes. Legendary team.
3-time Open Cup champions, regular stomping ground of the other Nealis, Jimmy Nealis. And they will be playing in Kentucky against FC Cincinnati 2.
Okay. All right. Well, nevertheless, if you're in the North Jersey area and you're up to chill with some Seeing Red hosts, come on by at Montclair State next Tuesday. All right. Let's, of course, throw all our support behind Des Moines. And I would imagine I saw T-shirts with these players' names on them.
Those are
for
jerseys.
Sale. Jerseys, too. I mean,
Yep.
getting a BWP Des Moines jersey might be a big collector's item.
That is pure sicko, and I'm probably doing it.
Yeah, I'm probably in there as well. All right. Saturday at 2:30, and again, why this game is at 2:30 and not the one 2 weeks ago when it was freezing, I do not know. But Saturday at 2:30 p.m., Orlando City SC comes into Red Bull. Oh, another $1 to Sports Illustrated Stadium to take on the New York Red Bulls, and let's dig into it now. Orlando is 1-2. They have 3 points on the season. In 3 games, they do not have the challenges that the Red Bulls do. They've scored 7 times in 3 games. They've allowed 8 goals in 3 games. And I don't know if you're a math major, but that's almost 3 goals a game. It's the worst. They have the worst defense in MLS. But at the same time, they're scoring a ton of goals. They're the first in the league in creating big scoring chances. And also, despite the fact that they've scored 7 times, they're first in the league in missing big chances. They are 0-1 on the road so far this season. Their matches to date this year, they took a 4-2 loss at Philadelphia. They won 4-2 against Toronto, and then just this past weekend, they lost 2-1 in the Bronx at NYC. And, it's a shame these games are so far apart. They should have just hung out in the New York metropolitan area, a City Red Bulls double dip on 2 consecutive weekends. Last year, of course, the team finishes 4th in the East. They get by the Eastern Conference playoffs. They beat Atlanta in the semifinal in the conference. And then, of course, Andres Reyes' header did them in the conference finals, sending the Red Bulls to Open Cup. They lost a lot of players that you may know. Nico Ladero is out. Facundo Torres is out. And our friend Felipe has departed MLS after many, many years. In comes Edward Atuesta, 27-year-old central defensive mid from Colombia. Marco Pascalic from Croatia on the wing, 24-year-old. And Nico Rodriguez, a 20-year-old Colombia, comes from Fortaleza for $1.6 million. Those are the changes. But again, it's not having a player like Facundo Torres. It has not seemed to hurt them at all. When we talk about themes for Orlando, there's no doubt that their attack has not been an issue. 7 goals in 3 games. Certainly the Red Bulls would like to have that. But with that attacking form, there has been a massive decline in the back. No team has conceded more goals in Orlando City, which is a big contrast for a team that's so usually defensively solid and disciplined under Oscar Pareja. And most teams would struggle offensively without their all-time leading scorer. But the Lions have remained clinical in front of goal. The signing of Marco Pasalic has helped them transition seamlessly. The Croatian has 2 goals and an assist in his first 3 MLS games. The history between these clubs, the 24th all-time meeting, of course, Orlando City joining the league in 2015, along with the blue team. The Red Bulls lead this series, but not by a ton, and not by a ton in Harrison. 6-4-1 all-time against the Purple. The last time these teams met, of course, was that Eastern Conference final last November. The Red Bulls are on a short 3-game unbeaten streak against Orlando. The all-time leading scorer, BWP, Lewis Morgan, has 3 goals. He's the active leader. Don't really see that changing this week because I don't think Morgan's going to be ready to go. Let's take a look at the lineup. At one point, Pedro Galicia was one of the most feared goalkeepers in the league. That is not the case anymore. The Peruvian national team keeper, again, gave up 47 goals last year, 8 goals already in 3 games this year, 14 clean sheets last year, and none so far this year. Rafael Santos, 27-year-old Brazilian, Robin Janssen, and Rodrigo Schlegel. Again, these are mostly the same players that the Red Bulls faced last year in the Eastern Final. Alex Freeman, a 20-year-old young American, is playing right back. There's Atuesta and Cesar Araujo are the sixes. Ivan Angulo on the left had 5 goals and 8 assists last year. Martin Ojeda, the 26-year-old Argentine, is the attacking lead. He's got a goal and assist so far this season. There's Pasalic, the right wing, with 2 and 1, and Luis Muriel, a 33-year-old Colombian, with a goal and assist. So this is, like, we kind of know what we're going to get out of an Orlando team. The only challenge is, Mike, that they can't stop scoring and they can't defend at all. What do you think?
Yeah, they bet it all on black. They just go, hey, if we score enough, it doesn't matter that people can score on us. It's a bold strategy, Con, and it's not working out.
No, it's not.
I'm going to say this looks like the perfect time for a meager, struggling Red Bulls offense to score more than 1 goal in a game. If they don't, then we've got to start having some conversations. Overall, I do expect this to not be a clean sheet for Coronel, because overall we've seen that Orlando is good at breaking down 3-man back lines. I believe they did it against whoever they played week 2. I can't remember. Off the top
Toronto.
of my head.
Keep in mind, it was Toronto. So
you are right, but they really
set.
broke it down. And I'm not saying we're not Toronto. I understand that. I do think they can beat that system, and we're probably gonna get scored on. It's just more a fact of, can the Red Bulls, a heavily injured Red Bull team, which I still don't think we're going to have most of our guys back, can they score more than 1 goal? I think that's got to be the bare minimum at this point.
Yeah, I think playing at home will be a boon to New York. I think the team defense they showed, and the ability and willingness to work together and suffer together against Atlanta, I don't think Orlando is going to basically take that last half hour of the game and say, yeah, you have the ball. We'll try to work around you. And when we get it back, we'll try to make it go the way Atlanta did after they pulled off their big attackers. But I mean, again, the 1 goal that New York conceded was kind of on a janky play. And I think I agree the offensive firepower is top notch. The team, Orlando, gave up. They had just evened the match in the Bronx last week when Hannes Wolf scored in the 71st minute. I think they're vulnerable to counterattacks. I just think they're vulnerable. So I think that their backline is far worse than Nashville, and New York, I felt, dominated Nashville for sure. If New York scores first in this game, they will win the game. I think the question is, how strong and focused can the Red Bulls be right off the bat? I feel like it's been years since the Red Bulls had a home game when it was light out. Do you remember the last time New York played an afternoon game? I mean, it feels like years and years.
It feels like Lee's Cup. Wait, no, it wasn't.
No,
because that was all at night. Because I'm thinking it's something they might have kicked off. No, those were later games too.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to an afternoon game, and the weather should be good, low 50s and cloudy. I mean, Red Bull fans deserve this, to have a game without the elements.
That's football weather.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, so Red Bulls, Orlando, 2:30 Saturday at Sports Illustrated Stadium. Who you got?
I got the Red Bulls winning 2-1. I will continue to say that even though things are kind of rough right now, you should be able to score on this team. You should be able to score in Orlando. Otherwise, if you have me back on this show, it's not going to be fun. I don't even want to guess who scores, but hey, let's just say Chupo. All right, fine. But I don't know who the second one's going to be.
Yeah, I absolutely think this is the match where Chupo opens his account. I can see Forsberg adding another, and I'm going to say that Julian Hall comes on late and he scores his first of the season. I think it's going to be a 3-1 Red Bulls win. When we're back on Seeing Red, it's your friend and mine, Matt Harmon of Red Bulls Radio. So stay with us, won't you? Thank you so much. Back here at the New York Soccer Roundup. I know that you know this week's guest. He's the play-by-play voice of the New York Red Bulls on Red Bulls Radio for 10 plus seasons now. That's my friend and yours, Matt Harmon. Matt, welcome back to Seeing Red. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah, 11th year. And if you don't mind, I'm going to start with a quick little story of just how fun it is to do what we do. When I say we, Steve Crowley and I, after the game in Atlanta, which I know we're going to talk about, on one of the platforms that we use, there's a little chat feature that I don't know that I've ever really recognized or seen.
Okay.
But there were a couple of notes up there after, one from another Mark who's super into what we do, and one I didn't have a name with it. It was like a Twitter handle or an X handle associated with it, and it said "Greetings from Yokohama," which is in Japan.
Yes, it is.
And that's not the first time that that's happened, but anytime that it does, I always love that, you know, what we do. And I had a chat conversation with somebody today about how long we've been doing it. And back in 2015, when we started this, it was people could listen to us wherever. You weren't constricted by the idea of old-fashioned terrestrial radio. And we've had so many people from different parts of the country and different parts of the world chime in. And anytime something like that happens, I always kind of, kick myself and say, man, what a cool thing we've got going on.
Yeah, a global enterprise for sure. I want to talk about Saturday in Atlanta. I also just kind of want to talk about your overall opinions after 3, but let's start with the Atlanta match. There were no shots on goal from Atlanta United and their high-powered, expensive attack after the 59th minute in the match, and I came away from the night thinking this was a phenomenal result for New York, considering the pieces missing on the attacking side for the Red Bulls. I was curious, what did you think overall? There were some that said it was a boring match. I thought this was a defensive masterclass by Schwarz, especially in the second half.
Yeah, and listen, to be fair, you got to give Atlanta credit as well, because Red Bull didn't do a ton on their attack. No shots on target all during the course of the game. Yeah, I mean, I get where people would say like boring game. I don't know that it didn't necessarily have a ton of excitement, but it did have kind of the normal combativeness that Atlanta and New York seem to have when the two teams play. I thought the intensity was there. I don't know if it was the cleanest game from either team. But yeah, defensively, listen, Red Bull has been great, right? They've given up one goal in the course of the last 3, and even that goal was a little bit fluky in Cincinnati. And they've done it now with a variety of players. Cameron Harper out for a little bit at that right wing back spot. You've seen a combination of Omar Valencia and Raheem Edwards on the left. You've seen with Dylan Nealis shifting back into a center back spot over the course of the weekend to give Alexander Hack a little bit of a break. And I know there were some that said, how come Tim Parker didn't play over the course of the last weekend? He was sick all week. And when I say sick, I saw him on Friday night, Saturday. He said he was knocked out pretty much the entire part of the week. So take that with a grain of salt there as well. But I think, Mark, it does speak to the versatility of the back line. You still have a Dylan Nealis who can play a wide variety of spots. You have, in essence, 5 really quality center backs. If you go Sean Nealis, Noah Ayla, Alexander Hack, Tim Parker, Dylan Nealis, that's the luxury that a lot of teams in Major League Soccer do not have at all. I think, to finish the point on the back line, I do think they need to figure out a little bit more consistency at the wingback spots. But I mean, man, you had basically a full team on the injury list going into the game on Saturday. So you take that point out of Atlanta and run. And what you do love about it is you had Carlos Coronel looking spectacular in the first half.
Yeah, agreed. I was pretty critical of Raheem Edwards and his mop-up role against Nashville, but he was nearly flawless once he came on. I thought Carmona did a great job. I think the tactical shift in the second half by Schwarz was brilliant. But let's turn our attention to the attack now. They have 2 goals in one game against Nashville. Choupo-Moting is working his way into fitness. It seemed with the caveat that they didn't have Kim Harper, and more important, perhaps they didn't have Lewis Morgan. There were plenty of folks that were just kind of lamenting the ideas going forward for the Red Bulls in Atlanta. They were folks just kind of lamenting the decision making in the final third. Obviously, the ball falls to Noah Ayala in the second half, and you're not necessarily expecting a center back to be clinical with that ball. But what concerns you about the attack 3 matches in?
If you just saw my facial expression, you'd probably.
I did.
It hasn't been great, right? I mean, let's be fair about it. As good as the defensive side of things has been, you could be concerned about the attack in the final third. Now, you scored 2 against Nashville. I thought 2 really good goals. Cincinnati, you had some chances. You didn't have a ton other than the Ayla one against Atlanta. Now, that being said, you mentioned Cameron Harper. You mentioned Lewis Morgan. 2 big pieces. I think the thing that Steve and I think even more than him, because as the analyst, that's his role, he was more concerned with, as we went forward, we being Red Bull, as Red Bull went forward, there were 4 guys standing across the Atlanta back line and nobody making diagonal runs in behind. Even worst case scenario, Steve does such a great job of seeing the game. Like he says, that's why we need Lewis Morgan, because you always Morgan moving off the ball, looking to run into a channel. And even if he doesn't get the ball or the ball's not played, the worst thing is the defenders thinking about, oh my God, Lewis Morgan's going to break in between right back and center back, and we're going to have an issue. Or even, Mark, if the ball is played down one sideline and it doesn't result in anything, what's the worst case scenario? You probably have given the other team a throw in deep in their back third. And I don't think there was enough of that on Saturday against Atlanta.
Have you noticed a deference to Forsberg in the middle by this team? Again, kind of breaking down the movement in the attacking third, it seemed as if everyone, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, everyone kind of looking to Emil to pull the trigger, perhaps turning down other passing opportunities to cycle the ball back to him. I mean, he's the man that makes it go. The statistics bear it out. The record when he's on the field bears it out. I'm just wondering if the team is perhaps turning down opportunities to get into dangerous spots by continuing to cycle it back to Forsberg. What do you think?
I'll give you an answer that probably doesn't. It toes the line a little bit. I could see where you would say that. I think it's much too early in the season with this batch of players to make that be a full statement that can stand on its own. Yeah, I mean, but then there's the other side of it, and you just said it. You want him to have the ball as much as possible, and I don't think, Mark, on Saturday, I don't think him going and either getting the ball or having it cycled back to him, I don't think that stopped anything in the buildup in the final third for New York. I just don't. I think if you're talking 3 games from now and there's maybe a continued issue where you're worrying about it a little bit, that might be one thing, but not on Saturday.
Fair enough. So, I mean, we've watched Bradley Carnell and the Philadelphia Union unlocking their attack to great effect. Orlando's coming in. They've scored 7 goals and conceded 8 in 3 matches. New York has played very tight games. Orlando has played very wide open games. I'm curious. I know it's early in the week, perhaps a little too early to get into it, but with the understanding that we don't know if we're going to have players returning to the starting lineup, impact players, what are you looking for Saturday?
I think it's going to be another difficult game, and I think you're going to say that before each and every game this year in the Eastern Conference. I think the top half of the East, now there will be some separation during the course of the year. I think in the East, it is going to be a meat grinder week in and week out. You've got Cincinnati, who thinks they should probably be the best team. Atlanta thinks they should be the best team. Miami thinks they're the best team. Charlotte thinks they made all the moves. Red Bull, I think, feels like they're a team that's going to contend for a top spot. And now all of a sudden, like you always do, you've got a Philadelphia team that's off to a 3-0 start. Is that sustainable? I don't know, but those are 6 teams right now out of 15 that you've just thrown in there and said, wow, pretty good starts all during the course of the year. We didn't even mention Orlando, who's a runner-up in the conference championship last year. You didn't throw in New York City, who I don't know is quite figured out who they are or what they want to be this season. And then there's always the X factors, right? What's Toronto going to be? What's Montreal going to be? But you know that in the East, I think the East this year is going to show a bigger gap in talent top to bottom, and definitely in the top half than the West. And I think the last couple of years you could say that in the West. I think this is the year that the East 1 through 8 is going to be so difficult to navigate.
It's kind of we talked about it on the show last week, the idea that taking on Atlanta in week 3, right? Traditionally, in the more recent past, New York's early season schedule was usually peppered with a lot of the Western Conference opponents they would face to kind of push those big, meaningful Eastern games down once the teams are getting up and going. The fact that New York will have faced Cincinnati's a contender, Atlanta, just due to the investment the team has made in attacking talent, certainly they can say that they're a contender. And now Orlando, as you said, New York's opponent in the Eastern Conference final. I don't know if I remember a year where in the first month of the season, you have so many of these kind of big, important kind of yardstick games before the team has really figured out who they are. It just seems a little strange to me.
I don't think it's a bad thing, Mark, for Red Bull, and I'll tell you why. Because even with new players coming in, and even with injury issues, it doesn't really change what they want to do and the style of play. So, are you better off getting a point in Atlanta early on before Almiron, Latte Lot figure out how to play?
Right.
I think that you are. So. Then knowing that you'll get them again at the end of May, I think is the return game. I mean, listen, I've been doing it now 11 years. I can't figure out how they do the schedule from year in and year out. And I know it's so many pieces of the puzzle. Yeah. But if you went back to last regular season, take the playoffs out of it, Red Bulls played Atlanta like 3 of their last 7 regular season games. It's just so weird sometimes how it all comes together. But I don't think it's a bad thing to get one game against some of these teams off the ledger.
Fair enough. Overall, has there been anything that surprised you about what you've seen from this year's team to date? I mean, I don't think anyone expected 11 players to be mentioned on the injury list in week 3, including some of the talent, the depth players that New York has brought in to kind of shore up the attack. I'm curious, other than that, which isn't ideal, is there anything or any player that surprised you after 3 weeks?
I don't know that there's any player that has like all of a sudden changed who they are, or you thought they were going to be this going into the season and now they're something completely different. I mean, I would point to Forsberg and tell you I think he is in great form at the beginning part of the season, which it took him a long time to get that way in Major League Soccer last year, and then he had the injury issues in the middle of the year. And he's so key to what New York does, and I think he understands what they want to do. And I'll use Chupo as a good example as well. Here's a guy, unbelievable pedigree, right? But he's come in and he's played 3 matches in a row, which had you said that in the beginning of the year, I think people would have said, like, probably not going to happen.
Right.
Or when he does play, he's not going to go 90 minutes. He's a guy that doesn't want to come off the field. And I think that sets a really good standard for the younger players underneath him to say, hey, I might be 35, but I'm not giving my spot up. I'm here to help you, and you can learn from me, but you're still going to have to be better than me in order to get on the field.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Matt, where can folks find? It baffles me that folks wouldn't know where to find Red Bulls Radio, but where should they find it?
Go to Japan. We're big in Japan.
Huge and great song, and yes, huge in
Japan.
Yokohama. Huge.
You can get us on the New York Red Bull app. There's a designated radio button. You can go to NewYorkRedBulls.com. I think if you scroll towards the bottom of the opening page, we're right there as well. Select games. I'm not sure if this is one select. It might be because of the afternoon. Select games are on Sirius XMFC, which I know you're super familiar with. They grab us probably a half dozen times during the course of the year. And then obviously in a game like this one, when we're at home, if you have Apple TV, there's the little drop-down menu and you can sync up the home radio call with what's going on as well. So there's a variety of ways to get us. And I think I said this when I was on with you last time. If people want to chat with Steve and I, you just have to reach out on social media. We try to be really engaging with the fans because it's kind of the lifeblood of who we are. And we try and give a little bit more insight to just the normal game to game, minute to minute stuff. We're fortunate enough traveling with the team, being around the guys, having a great relationship with Sandro and so many of the players. The insight is there. And as I've always told you, super fortunate for what we do and blessed to have Steve as my partner now 11 years in a row.
Awesome. Well, it's always great to talk. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and coming on. That's Matt Harmon from Red Bull Radio. Thanks, Matt.
No problem, Mark. Appreciate you having me on. Always happy to do it.
All right. We've got more Seeing Red coming up after this short break. Keep it here. Back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. If you were listening to this before Wednesday night of this week, know that the Red Bulls are having a Meet the Team night at the Adidas store on Broadway in Houston. It's 610 Broadway from 5 to 7 p.m. Seeing Red will be there interviewing some players and interviewing the fans. So the notion of coming and meeting you, and maybe you'll end up on a special edition of Seeing Red down the road. So please come and check it out. You may or may not know that you can write us at seeingredny@gmail.com. We encourage you to do that. After a week where we had an overflowing email bag, yes, thank you, that is it, we have a completely empty email bag. So we're going to go to Bulls of the Week ideas from the blue sky. When asked Bull of the Week, HK Dallas says Coronel with an honorable mention is Sean Nealis and most improved to Raheem Edwards. We haven't talked about Sean Nealis's play, which I thought was absolutely massive. What do you think?
Sean Nealis kind of proved that, yeah, he deserves to be that top center back again. There was kind of this position last year where it was him, it was Reyes, who was really the top guy in that. And then when Reyes left, you were kind of wondering what was going to happen. He once again proved he's totally supposed to be there. And I should say, after week one, where that one weird goal snafu, people are talking, oh God, is this three-man line going to work? What is he doing? No, he totally solidified himself against a team that historically does not beat the Red Bulls. And a lot of those games he's been on the field for. So, I mean, hey, that's kind of the perfect time for him to have the you remember me kind of game.
Yeah, no, I thought he was absolutely massive. And on a night where they were giving Alexander Hack a break on that turf, I thought New York's defense clearly didn't skip a beat. And he was charged with moving the ball from side to side and did it with aplomb. And, no mistakes, no notes, Sean Nealis. Friend of the show from day one, Igor Dickey, also says Sean Nealis. Now, it is either S.A. Howie or Sahawi on Blue Sky, and I apologize if I got it wrong. Coronel with an honorable mention to Noah Ayla, who What I loved in the closing 20 minutes of this game, and yes, you can be upset with Ayla skying the back post shot. He had the green light to go, right? A number of times late in the game, Noah Ayla just said, there's no one charging me. There's no one challenging me. I'm just going to keep moving up the field. And he oftentimes found himself in the attacking third and was able to dish off to an Edwards or a Forsberg and allowed New York to continue to hold the ball, which really struck me because we all know that Ayla's footwork is one of his best skills. I was just surprised that no one even attempted to dispossess him. As they're like, yeah, no, okay, keep going. Just crazy. What do you think?
We have John Tolkien at home. That's it's weird because I argued so much last year and maybe the last 2 years that, why do we keep letting John Tolkien be a midfielder? Because he's supposed to be a defender, but he just keeps running the entire length of the field, and now he's acting like a pseudo forward, and I can't stand it because then we let up goals. And then you see something like this, and I'm like, yes, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Take advantage. Do exactly, run the ball, run down the wing. They're not looking at you. I fall for my own traps every single time, Mark. It's not good. But no, this is perfect for him. I'm not saying this should be what he's known for, because I think that's what Tolkien fell into, that trap where everyone just expected him to be a midfielder, an attacking midfielder. Noah should not be that, but it's good to know.
He's got it in the bag.
It's just don't, that one goal, that one shot aside, he does have the legs and he can run it. So I'm like, all right, good. We can move the ball in more ways. And I really do appreciate that.
He's our attacking central defender. Pete Mamola, also longtime friend of the show, says Carlos was bull of the week. When Ayla was the most successful offensively, it tells you the current state of things. And again, when you're talking about removing facets and dimensions of your attack, I mean, Chupo had a couple of decent opportunities. There was one point where he had gotten in, and let's be frank, he's not the speediest guy at age 35. There was one or maybe two opportunities he had to kind of run into the box. But again, on the road, surely you need a little bit more. He's continuing to work himself into shape. It'll be better at home. Thoughts on?
No offense, like two of our attacking players are north of 33, and the other one is 16. Like I'm just saying we have both ends of the spectrum here, and I think people need to realize that these are the cards we're being dealt when Lewis Morgan is not available. I'm not saying anything. I'm not trying to throw shade at Hall or Chupo or anything like that. I am saying that when you put those together, I'm not surprised it's a 0-0 draw, especially when it's the first time those three have been on the field, like to start a game.
I don't know do you play Marvel Snap? Are you aware of this game?
I'm aware of the game, have not played it in a while, and a bunch of my friends do.
Okay. There's a card in Marvel Snap called Living Tribunal, and what it does is it spreads out all the points that you have and averages it across the three zones. That's what we need for our attack right now. Forsberg, Chupo, and Julian Hall. Let's just average those three.
Bring that 25-year-old.
There you go.
We have
28-year-old, 28-year-olds. That's
and like we have an American, a Swede, German. So like we need someone in the middle that's like England or Iceland. So like, all right, perfect.
I like it. Okay. And lastly, Smith OM says Carlos was the goal of the week. Too many shots on goal were saved to me to consider anyone else. It was Carlos's 150th appearance in all competitions, and that is a really nice milestone. Thoughts?
Sorry, I didn't know you're going to lead in with that more.
Sorry, I just kind of cut it there.
It's funny because I had a very, very poignant discussion with one of our mutual Cosmos friends about Coronel.
Okay.
And it's funny because after 150 games, I still don't know where he is for me, because he had that Columbus game is etched in my life and etched in Red Bull lore. There has been so many games that he has stood on his head to get this team points. And there's been so many games where he's been so cold, and the inconsistency means that he's not an MLS All-Star, that he's not a starter for his national team, which is a subpar national team. And I'm just going to say that I don't know where he's going to finish, like in the terms of like Red Bull's lore. Is he going to be Robles? Is he going to be, what's he going to be? But after 150 games, damn, I'm happy he's here.
I'm really happy he's here. And listen, I think he would be the first to tell you that over the summer last year was not his best performances. It wasn't. No one on the team was playing particularly well. He has a lifetime goals against in all competitions for New York of 1.19, which is only bested by one other keeper who has at least 50 appearances, and that was Buna Kandul. Okay.
I have his jersey.
Okay. He has 42 clean sheets. That is only bested by Luis Robles. His 59 wins are only bested by Luis Robles. Now, Luis Robles has 132 wins and 88 losses. Carlos has 59 wins and 52 losses. So I understand where and the rest draws, obviously. I understand the challenge of how important, where is Coronel on the Mount Rushmore of Red Bull keepers, where Luis Robles is certainly there. You can make the argument that Tony Meola has to be there. I would think that Tim Howard also has to be there. And so is the fourth Coronel? Is it Ryan Mara? Is it Buna? Can you make the Mount Rushmore with only 50 all-time appearances? I mean, Coronel, if you figure another 30 appearances, although he will have time away with the Paraguayan national team, and the international window starts next week after this weekend.
Oh, man.
I mean, he'll get to 180, I would imagine, given all the competitions that New York's had, if he stays healthy, or 175. I think you have to put him there.
I'm going to say that Coronel feels like he's in the Josh Allen like situation where he's very good, but whenever he goes crazy, there's that guy in Columbus that goes off, or there's the guy in Yankee Stadium that goes off, or Philadelphia Union, someone's going off. It just that unfortunately he's always going to play bridesmaid, and it's crazy to see it happen. And I feel like that sways my opinion a bit, where I'm like, dang, maybe he's not as good. But then I realize, like, what am I talking about? It's Carlos Coronel. He's great. But great. It's just those moments of like, because he's good and he's good in the wrong time. And then he has the cold moments too. That doesn't help. But no, it's just, I'm just so happy for him, and I can't wait to see what else comes up for him.
He's like a male tennis player growing up in the age of Federer and Nadal, and now Carlos Alcaraz and Djokovic, where it's like, if you're not one of those four guys, you're just not making the semis ever of a tournament. But you're really great. I think Coronel gets the last spot on the goalkeeping Mount Rushmore. I think he's been really important to the team. I mean, you can make the argument Facundo Torres' shot in Orlando could have been a little better, but I mean, he made the one stop that delivered New York into the second ever MLS Cup appearance. I mean, New York could have been down 3-0 at halftime last week at Atlanta, without a doubt. The one save where he was moving to his right, throws his body back to make the save in the first half was as difficult a save as I've seen. So
it's a game of inches.
It's a game of mistakes. You did not make a mistake in watching or listening to Seeing Red.
That is smooth.
Or whether.
Phenomenal.
I would like to thank Matt Harmon for stopping by. I would like to thank Zach Feldman for stats as always, and Mike Battista. Mike, it's going to be a busy time for you next week with Open Cup. Let us know where to find you.
You can find me. You can find me on Blue Sky at batista.bluesky.social. You can find me still on Twitter a little bit at Michael Battista, and you can find me writing for New York Sports Nation for my Red Bulls coverage, Hudson River Blue for all my other coverage, and for the Cup.us for my U.S. Open Cup coverage. And you might see me writing for U.S. Soccer once in a while.
Phenomenal. I'm Mark Fishkin saying thank you so much for watching and listening to episode 604. If you've done it all this way, like and subscribe. Let's go Red Bulls on Saturday. Have a great night, everyone. Good night.
Woo.